Have you ever heard of the Alchemist, the book?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember what it's about, but I've heard of it. It's been a
Okay.
old. It was an old book, right?
Yeah, super old book.
Yeah.
So that book I read that like in 2016, I think, and like it has stuck with me. Just like this one line from the book, which is like, once you decide where you want to go, life will move in that direction to help you get there,
Hmm.
as long as you're committed. You know what I'm saying? So, uh, I think it was last week when I was talking about the jujitsu stuff and like me reaching out to Carlos, stuff like that, right?
Right.
And I was I was talking to I was telling one of my like friends about it, and they were like, "Oh, you're so connected." I'm like not really. Like I'm not connected. You know, I guess from the outside, but it's like, how did you build that connection? It's like I just put myself in the position to be there.
Hmm.
You know, like the story of how I met Carlos is like Adrian was teaching Montessori to his kid, and
Right.
then I was training with Adrian, and then Adrian was like, "Yo, you know the UFC world champion? I'm teaching his kid." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." I had no idea about who this guy was, right? So then he's like, we were just like walking in the area, and then he's like, "Oh, I swear that's the gym of the UFC champion," right? And then I was like, "Oh, that's cool. Like martial arts. I like martial arts. Let's find out more about it." And then Alex was living there in that area at the time, and he made a conversation with him. And then Carlos was like, "Yeah, like if you want to be an instructor or whatever, like let's meet up." But like Alex was too nervous to go by himself, I guess. So he wanted to bring us. So I was
Hmm.
like, yeah, cool. And then when I met Carlos, I had no idea. Like, you know, people are like, oh, that's starstruck. You know, like, oh, but I was like, this is just some random dude. Like, I didn't watch
Hmm.
any of the UFC videos. Like, I don't know who you are. So he's like, yeah, what's up, buddy? And whatever. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, what do you know? And I was like showing him some stuff. And he's like, oh, that's awesome. Like, you want to come teach here? And I was like, oh, yeah, sure. And then I went home and Googled. I was like, oh, dude, this guy's like legit, bro. But like,
Right.
you see
Right.
what I
Right.
mean? It's just like the pieces were that like I didn't search that out. It was just like accidental
Mm.
moments of meeting these people, right? And then even with like GN, right? He's like this famous knife fighting YouTuber, and like I reposted a video of his, and then he messaged me and he was like, "Hey, you just reposted my video." I'm like, "Oh, dude, yeah, I love your stuff, whatever." And he's like, "Oh, you teach in Scarborough?" And I'm like, No. I just like have the name Scarborough Soldier Club there because like it's something I want to do in the future. And like, where do you teach?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm in Markham." I'm like, "Dog, what?" I'm like, I
Hmm.
had no idea. It turns out it's right next to you. And I was like, "Well, that's right. That's so small world." And then
Right.
he's like, "Yeah, if you're ever over, like I teach this class." It was literally the morning of. And he's like, "I teach this class Mondays and Saturdays. Like if you want to
Hmm.
come over, whatever, whatever." And then that night I showed up and then he's like, "Oh, new student, like, hey, what's up? Who are you?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm the dude who messaged you." And he's like, "Whoa." And he's like, nobody does that. Like,
Mm.
kudos to you because nobody does that. I'm like, does what? He's like, show up. And I'm like, dog, my life is showing up, bro. Like, you
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm just gonna see, let's see what's up, you know? And and then like you're like, oh, you're so well connected, but it's like it's not really. You're just like, these are the things, you know?
Right.
Like
Right.
you F1, you know, you like F1. So you're
Hmm.
like, oh, I'm just gonna go to the F1 track. And you're like, you meet some dude, and you're like, I don't know who this dude is. And they're
Hmm.
like, oh, I'm actually the race car. You know what I mean? Like being in those situations really helps propel you into that world, you know? And
Yeah.
then but it makes me think of like the alchemist of like the world will move.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
you know, we're just like, I kind of want to go here. And the world's like, yeah, sure, let's just push you in that direction.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, hey, you're gonna say something?
No. No. No.
Oh, okay. So then I was like, so then I messaged Carlos like, oh, I really want to like teach jujitsu, but I can't as a blue belt, whatever, whatever. And Carlos was like, yeah, you could do it, buddy. Like,
Hmm.
it's on you. You know, I was like, all right, cool, sure. So I reached out to Gian. I was like, because I knew he wanted to do grappling. So I was like, hey, do you want to do grappling? I was just like, me and you, bro. Like, I will work with you. So he's like, yeah, for sure. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm stoked. So I was like, I can't come Mondays because I need to swap out my classes. I'll go Saturdays instead. He's like, yeah, whatever you need, bro. So yesterday was Saturday. So I will show up and he's like, are you ready for this? I'm like, yeah, man. I'm just thinking like, yeah, I'm just gonna teach you, right? I'm gonna teach you. Did you see the
Right.
highlight video I posted?
I saw something. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so this is the backstory. So I'm like, I'm gonna teach you, bro. And then as I go in, I see all the training partners there. Like we're all, and they're like, hey, what's up, Purple? Yeah, yeah. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, I'm so excited for today. I'm like, excited for what? Like, what are you guys talking about? And then he's like, and then like people come up to me like, yo, I'm so excited for this jujitsu thing. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then when class starts, and then Paulo goes like, yeah, everyone. So like, I'm gonna teach like, the first hour, and then the last half hour, Ervil's gonna take over. I was like, oh, oh, not just you. And he looks at me,
Right.
I'm like, sounds good. And then like I teach it, and it's like, and then with that, it's like I've always loved the Gracie Jiu Jitsu stuff, right? So I was like, all right, cool, this would be great. Like I'm sharing the art. So I posted it, and then like here on Gracie like watched it and he liked it and he commented on it. I'm like, oh, it's so sick, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like it's all just doing that kind of stuff, bro. Like I could at that moment when he was like, oh yeah, you're gonna teach it. I was like, not today. In that moment I was like, what do I say?
Mm-hmm.
But I was like,
Right.
okay,
Right. Right.
sure, sure,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
it, bro.
Mm-hmm.
But you sprung that on me last minute. And the craziest part is when we finished, they were like, oh, that's amazing. And then I found out he's like, other people were like, he was talking about it all week. He was telling us all. I was like, bro, what? Like, I thought it was you. Like, you were telling everyone, like, yo, make sure you come to Saturday. Like, Ervil's gonna be teaching. Like, what? You know what I mean? Like,
Right. 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 Right.
that's the universe again. I was like, okay, sure, let's do
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I feel like that's the hack, bro. Like all these people were talking about like the minimum wage thing and feeling trapped and like how do you do it? It's like that's how you do it, bro. You just
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know what this is gonna do, but let's just see what happens. You know?
Yeah. I this is
That's yeah.
taking chances. That's what that is.
Right. So I 100% agree with you. I 100% agree with you. But like the reason why I say it as like life is the biggest video game is
Mm-hmm.
because that's easier to think about than take chances. Cause because of like again, it's like I'm trying to speak to the lowest common denominator here. So it's like I'm not taking a chance because a chance implies risk. I could be hurt.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I could lose the situation. But it's like I'm not losing anything, bro. I'm just
Right. I see
playing
what
the
you're
video
saying.
game. You know
Sure.
what I mean?
Sure.
And then like if you're in that zone where you're trapped, it's like I'm just playing the video game, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I lost this level, whatever. I lose many levels in video games.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like if you imply chance, like taking a chance, it's like that's me. But it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't me. I was like, I'm playing a video game right now. Like when he's like, Erbil, you're gonna teach. I'm like, playing the video game. You know.
Mm-hmm.
He said the really most interesting thing to me though. He was like at the end, he was giving me a bit of a debrief. He's like, "You have imposter syndrome," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's why I trained so hard, bro." Because like he's like, "But you're so good," and I'm like, "Yeah, but like I need to be that good to overcome me being like, am I fake?" Because like during the thing, I'm like, all right, if you think that'll work, like I was showing this move, and the guy's like, I could elbow you in the face. I'm like, do it, but he couldn't do it, and he's like,
Right.
oh, well, it works. I'm like, but you wouldn't be able to do that unless you were like imposter syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
because I was like, is this wrong? I don't know. Try it,
Right.
you know? Yeah. But it's not, all right. So like, you're like, okay, maybe this is just like one example. You know what I mean? And like, I found that like, this is the exact same story for Tara too. You know, how she's like blowing up and stuff. And she's like so well connected, but it was literally just like, I like this person. I'm going to go
Mm-hmm.
reach out to them. And then like, hey, I have this small opportunity. Like, do you want to just like do my social media? She's like, yeah, for sure. You just want to be in that world. But like,
Yeah.
she approached it very strategically. Like, I want to be in that world. Like, this is my mindset. Whereas I was like, I just want to see how far the game goes,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But like, I feel like that go getter mindset is not for everyone. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. We're
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
putting ourselves in the same situation. But like, saying that I'm gonna go get this, it's so much energy. You know what I mean?
Well, I guess that's what you have to figure out about yourself. What works for you.
Mm. Because it's just a story you tell yourself at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing the exact same thing. Like it's the exact same approach. I'm just like, there's a game. And she's like, no, I'm getting this.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, that feels like, but you're right. It's like,
Again,
that's
it's
me.
each individual person has a different meaning of it.
Right?
To them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally,
Yeah.
totally, totally. So, like, okay, going back to The Alchemist, I'm like, how far does this work? So I ended up booking, it's so funny. So, like, I have 2 weeks off at the end of this month after next week. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna go try. I think I told you before. I was like, I'm gonna
Yeah,
go
yeah.
TriStar, right? And then I cost calculated it. I'm like, dude, this is too much money. Like, what are we
Mm-hmm.
doing? This is gonna be like $2,000 for a week. And then Tara's like, well, why don't you just go for a shorter amount of time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no. I was trying to put it off. Like, no, it's just maybe there's not the time, whatever, whatever. But then her, again, it's like the universe pushing you, like they're giving you signs. And I was like, okay, you're my sign. Like when she was like, why don't you just go? I'm like, okay, let me just see how much it's gonna cost for like 3 days. It's gonna be crazy. Like just gonna drive up, do the class, do the class, do the class, do the class, come back.
Mm-hmm.
Like just like really push it. And it turned out to be like $500. I'm like, okay, cool. I can swing $500, just like a hotel room, whatever. And then doing like the week trial. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like, then that's going to happen again. It's like, who are you going to meet in Montreal? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, bro. Like, but let's just see where the game goes,
Right. Yeah.
you know? But I feel like that's with everyone, though. I feel like everyone's like, whoever's quote unquote successful,
Mm-hmm.
it's like they just kept doing that thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's the hack, bro. But we just don't do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's the hack. Like I was listening to Henry Gracie on a podcast, and he's like so successful now, business wise, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about him starting, and so I thought he was like so much older than me. He's only 5 years older than me. I'm like, dude, this guy, he projects himself like he's an old person, right?
Right.
But when he filmed those like Gracie videos, those Gracie online videos that I used to watch and like replicate, he was like 17, I think he said. I'm like, dude, I would have never thought you were 17. But he
Mm-hmm.
took over his parents' academy, his dad's academy at 17, and he's like, okay, I guess this is what we're doing. And then he was teaching all these like old business people, and those people were giving him business advice.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, you just put yourself out there, like, because you could have just like taught the class, left, you
Yeah.
know. But he was just like, oh, you know something I don't know, blah blah blah,
Mm-hmm.
right?